Welcome to A-State Sports Take. I am the host, Gavin Grubbs. This is our second episode, and one thing we're going to talk about to start off is Butch Jones' future at Arkansas State. Do you guys think that he is somebody who can lead this team for multiple years to come, or is he just going to be another 1 or 2 year coach like we've seen in recent history multiple times? I'm going to start with Dave.
I do think Butch Jones is somebody that can help Arkansas State get out of the hole that they're in right now. Something that people have got to understand is this is his first year here. I know in the state of Arkansas, rather, we expect any coach for any team to be a 1 year fix, to automatically be somebody who can lead them to a title or a championship for that conference, but that's not how it works in football or any other sport. But I do think he's the right coach for the job. I think he can get them out of the hole that they're in right now.
I am going to have to harshly not agree with you, because there's no way that I believe, maybe 2 years, maybe next year might be a miracle, but there's no way his record right now is 2-10. That is horrible. I have never seen a record that low. And looking at the past coaches from A-State, nobody had that bad of a record. So honestly, he might be a one and done, or maybe a 1.5, maybe 2, pushing it. But other than that, I don't see him trying to do anything like really spectacular at this moment.
Well, I disagree, because if you look at his previous stops, when he went to Central Michigan, he has 2 MAC championships. Then he go to Cincinnati. First season, he was 4-8. Then the second season, he won 10-3 and won the Big East. So then he goes to Tennessee and has a 5-7 record, but also wind up going 9-3 in the SEC. So I believe this is his first season, not his players. He has to recruit his players, and I think he got to figure out the quarterback situation. And then I think he'll be okay.
I think the quarterback situation is a lot more simplified now that Lane Hatcher's entered the portal as of today. But even so, you mentioned recruiting. That's a big part of how Butch Jones can make this program become a higher elite program like we're used to seeing in the Sun Belt. You mentioned the coaches prior to Butch Jones, but like Hugh Freeze, Gus Malzahn, Brian Harsin, those are all 3 coaches who had senior and junior led team. This team that Butch Jones has right now is considerably young for the Sun Belt Conference, and with that comes experience because of what they've had to go through this past season, being 2-10. But the last games that they played this year were considerably competitive rather than like we saw big losses in the middle of the season against App State and Tulsa and Memphis. But they had some close games that didn't go their way.
But do you honestly think that somebody, he could get players to come here with the record that he has, right now?
I would not this year, I wouldn't say, but coming this next year, I believe so.
I still don't. Maybe he already have some football commits, but at this point, I feel like maybe someone might reconsider or take a second look, because why would I come to a school and for football knowing that their record is 2-10 right now?
Well, that's why you can't base somebody's record off of 1 year being at a school, regardless of what team or what conference that is.
But see, we go back to
we were. Right now, we are 3rd in recruiting in the Sun Belt overall out of the 12 teams that are in the Sun Belt, or 10, excuse me. And another thing is, Butch Jones did use the transfer portal to his advantage while having some players transfer out. At the start of this season, he had James Blackman, the quarterback, as well as Tavalance Hunt, the receiver from TCU, transfer in. Do you guys think he's going to be able to use more transfers, or do you think he's going to try to start from scratch and get recruits that are incoming freshmen?
Well, now James Blackman was a big, recruiting, and I think it didn't go well for him. So I think some quarterbacks might not want to come, because James Blackman, he played for a big-time program at FSU. So when A-State got him, I thought, wasn't expecting 2-10, 1-7 in the conference, like she's saying. So if he does that again, he'll be out of here. Because, at FSU, Blackman threw for 5,000 yards and 43 touchdowns. So I think him coming out having success might not make other top transfer guys want to come here.
I think success with James Blackman's going to have to come with the familiarity that his players and his teammates have around him, because it's his first year here as well, just like it is for Butch Jones. So everybody's not familiar to what he's used to being around, coming from Florida State. So it's a lot of new players and new pieces for Arkansas State to be handling right now. So.
But still, we go back to the 2011, 2012, 2013 season with the one-time coaches. I mean, they all came in. The record for Hughes and Gus was 10-3, and Hughes had an 8-0 season, and they went to bowl games. So I think people feel like they want to go back to the old, like 10 years ago, like 11, whenever football here was like the most amazing thing ever. Even going to the bowl, that gives them something to look for. But now it's like, I understand, you got to start over and you got to rebuild a team. But you have, the first-time coaches, and like you said, there's like juniors and seniors led that team, but it's still like, it got to be something got to give.
Well, and every coach is coaching the team.
Dave, I'm sorry. I'm going to have to cut you off. We're out of time here for our first segment. This is A-State Sports Take. I'm your host, Gavin Grubbs. Welcome back to A-State Sports Take. I'm Gavin Grubbs, the host. And our second segment today, we're going to talk about NIL deals, name, image, and likeness for college athletes. This is the first year that they've had them, and the first year that athletes have been able to profit off of themselves. Do you think this is going to be something that's beneficial for college sports, or do you think that it will hinder college sports?
I think it really depends on which college sport you're looking at, because there are a lot of smaller college sports that they don't have the funding to hardly pay for scholarships for their athletes in the first place. So, I mean, those sports, it's going to hurt a lot, but there's also other examples of sports that have a lot more funds to do so. And, I mean, we've seen billboards of Trinity Jackson where she's up high in the sky, and for anyone else, if their image was being used like that, they would have to okay it, and they would also be paid for that every single time it was used. So I don't understand why her being an athlete, aside from the contract she signed when she started playing for A-State, would change that.
I completely agree. I think NILs are good for college sports, because the athletes are already making so much money for these schools. Like, sports are one of the biggest sources of income for colleges. So you got to pay the players for the amount of money that they're bringing in. And plus, I want to play some NCAA football, so I want that to be there. So NIL makes that possible.
Yeah, I would totally agree with y'all. There's pros and cons to anything, and I think with this, the pros kind of outweigh the cons in a sense.
And I just think you got to give the power to the players, you know what? Because, like, they try their hardest out every time. They are always out there playing super hard, and you just got to give them something to want to play even more. I know you got scholarships, but they don't get to use all that money. Like, it just goes to their college. They need some spending money too, you know?
Which, to a degree, college athletes do get some amount of spending money when they work for the university. The cost of attending fee that they get. So a lot of people will argue against the NILs because they're getting scholarships, they're getting meal plans, they're also getting cost of attendance fees. In some way, you could argue that they are already paid. I don't think that is enough for the work they're putting in.
Yeah, I completely agree. And also, I think this just makes it to where those like shady deals that were probably happening anyways, because there had to have been players getting paid already anyways. Like at the big schools like Kentucky and Duke that just recruit the best players every year, they had to have been like paying people under the table. So now they can just do it over the table and not even get in trouble for it.
Yeah, that's a little problematic, though. I know, especially in the Sun Belt, if you do that, there are a lot of fines associated with that. Our compliance office would not be happy if that was happening here.
You just got to be good with it. You just got to learn the ways to do it secretly.
I would not suggest that. But I think any other job where you're working 40 hours a week, even if it's contractual, if you aren't getting paid enough for your image being used and you're putting in the work in the background, I don't think that's legal through any other job except for college sports.
But then that brings in the con of our athletes going to start being, like considered employees in a sense, like because they're going to get money out of that.
To a degree, I think they would be held similar to just like a contractual employee. So they would work under contract for the time they're here, but they are not necessarily tied to the university as though they are employees of the universities. They are contracted employees, but it's separate from the university in the legal sense.
And another question I want to bring up is last segment we talked about the transfer portal and a lot of players leaving or coming to Arkansas State. Do you think that the transfer portal and what school, what brand you're representing affects your NIL deals you're getting?
I definitely do, because some colleges have more money than others. So I guess that brings the idea that there's going to be colleges that have more money and more likeness, and then that's going to bring in more athletes to them, and then the other ones aren't going to have as good amount of athletes, if that makes any sense.
Which I could also see it being a thing where a student would go through either JUCO or start at a small college and then transfer up to get better NIL, if that makes sense.
Yeah, just keeping it in the state of Arkansas, I think going to U of A would probably intrigue players more because they could probably get more deals at U of A because they get so much national TV time. But Arkansas State is just as good as U of A, but I think with the national TV time that U of A gets, it'd be intriguing to a bunch of players.
All right, that's going to be the end of our second segment of A-State Sports Take.
Every day,
millions of people are connecting.
And even though we're overcoming obstacles,
watching each other's backs,
And banding together.
we should still make an effort.
We should still make an effort.
to get to know each other,
on a deeper level.
Father,
cosplayer,
Mentor.
Actor.
it's time we take a step forward
it's time we take a step forward.
Come together.
and discover
How accepting our differences
can make us stronger.
Welcome back to our third segment of the show on A-State Sports Take. I'm your host, Gavin Grubbs, and this time we're going to be talking about esports and should they be considered in the same mindset as traditional sports. Will, you start us off.
Well, as someone that plays sports, I would have to definitely disagree that esports is a sport. Yes, it is a video game, and yes, there is a competition, but it's one of those, where is the fine line between sport and competition, right? Esports, you've got games like FIFA, Madden, Minecraft, Fortnite. Yes, these are all different games that you play to win. However, the definition of sport is, it's got the word physical or physicality in there, and that's where I think is where the main difference between esports and sports is. Yes, while esports, you're getting hyped and you're playing, there's not that physicality aspect where you're either running or you're jumping or you're hitting other people. That's why I would disagree that esports and sports are the same. Sport is another category. But esports do have competition in it, which is where I think a lot of people get mixed up.
Yeah, I definitely think it's a controversial subject, but I'll have to agree with you. My brothers played baseball, and I can't just put baseball and video games into the same category because my whole life I've been watching sports, and there's no physical element to esports. There's really nothing. I mean, you do compete, but I don't believe that it's an actual sport.
Yeah, I'm agree with her. So there's no physical extension. So I don't agree. I don't think esports is sports.
With the about the esports, I agree with what everybody said, but
I understand it's not a physical sports, and there's no denying in that, but sports is pretty much about skill, and so is competitive video gaming. And you cannot expect a casual player to come even close to a play style and success rate of a trained professional. So I just think I agree on all what everybody said about that.
Yeah, you know, and like what you said, not taking anything away from people who play video games. I mean, I played FIFA this morning, but I obviously wouldn't be able to beat some professional FIFA player. But, you know, under categories, it's definitely just not a sport. I would more categorize it as a competition because, you know, there's that fine line between physicality and not.
Yeah, I definitely think there's an argument to be said about it. I personally don't believe in it, but I feel like most people would say esports is a sport because of the competitions and because of the money they get paid, just like any other college athlete. But again, I don't believe that's enough to call it a sport and for it to be in the same category as all the other ones.
I just think that sports, like physical sports, is require coordination and full body movement, not just like gestures with the controller or the hand and stuff like that. So I just think it's not a sport, but it is. Well, you could say it is because they play in a sports game, but other than that, I don't think it's just a sport because it's not physical.
Well, since we're all on the same page, you know, especially with the modern day era that we're in, would you be able to categorize virtual reality as more of a sport? Because with virtual reality, you know, you've got those handsets and you're kind of moving around. Would that be able to be described as a sport?
Yeah, I definitely think it would be possible to consider virtual reality as a sport. I mean, I've done it before, and you are actually moving. With video games, you're moving your hands and whatever else. I don't play video games. But with virtual reality, you're actually standing up and you're boxing or whatever the game is. So I definitely think that could be considered a sport if it happened to be.
Even with virtual reality, you still have to remain stationary in a small area. Would you consider that enough to be considered a sport?
It's, you know, it's all about how you play the game. I'd say, you know, there are some people who play video games physically. You know, I've played with guys that stand up where they scream and shout, not taking anything away from that, but I think VR is kind of that same where you are up and you are moving, and you know, there's also Xbox Connect, and that is a very physical sport. I have played that many of times, and I've sweated many of times playing that. But again, it's the virtual aspect, and yes, you are competing against other people, but I just don't see how you could say this is a sport. And it's just like chess for me, which might be another hot topic, but I just don't see how chess would be a sport. Yes, you are playing a game, but it's just like how you play online. You're playing against other people. Chess is the same way. It's more of a mental game than a physical game.
All right, that's going to wrap up our third segment of A-State Sports Take. I'm your host, Gavin Grubbs. Back with A-State Sports Take for our fourth segment of the day. This time we're going to change it up a little bit compared to what we've talked about so far, which has mostly been college athletics. This time, is the MLS, Major League Soccer, considered a top sports league in the United States? And if not, what do they need to do to be considered on par with the NFL, NBA, MLB, and NHL? We're going to start out with Louis.
So I think, unfortunately for the MLS, it is behind in the times in America. I think there needs to be a lot more investment to make it a top league. We're looking at the money that is spent in sports in America, and the MLS still has attendances, it has regular attendances, it has regular popularity, yet we're not seeing the same money spent. And I think this shows in the reputation the MLS has. It's a selling league or it's a retirement league. As soon as Europe gets a sniff of a good player in the league, they are gone. We've seen it previously with Zach Steffen, Tyler Adams, Alphonso Davis. They are all leaving to go and play in Europe because, I mean, they're going to get a higher level of football. And there's always the rumours. I mean, Ricardo Pepi had a great season for FC Dallas this year. And as soon as he started scoring, he was rumoured with Liverpool, with Wolfsburg. But it's even the US men's national team is improving, yet the players that are coming from the MLS are not really that good. You're even seeing with Zach Steffen's move to Man City, he's not getting the same amount of game time. But you look at Gabriel Jesus, who came from Palmeiras in the Brazilian league, yet he's a regular starter in the same team. And even two of the most successful, in my opinion, US men's national team players in Christian Pulisic and Weston McKennie never stepped foot in the MLS. They chose to go directly from their youth teams to the Bundesliga with Dortmund and Schalke respectively. And I think this needs to be addressed first of all. We need to be looking at the quality of players, and we need to be looking at how can we attract them, how can we get this exciting football in the MLS, because all it's going to result in is more views and more sponsors.
Yeah, I agree. I think obviously MLS is not, obviously it's not on the level of the Premier League worldwide, and it's not on the level of, the NFL or the NBA stateside. And so what I think, if MLS wants to be bigger, I think what they need to work on is to really focus on packaging it as American soccer. And so, using playoffs and tournament styles, maybe not using like relegation and promotion, things like that, making it the American, style. Yeah. Focusing on that kind of stuff. Like, so if you have, a TV show like The Office that starts off in the UK and you bring it to America, you're going to change it a little bit to make it fit American audiences, and I think that's what the MLS really needs to focus on. And so I think one way they can do that is by working on their TV deals, because they don't really have a major TV deal right now. They don't have ESPNs. Every now and then you'll get a game on like Fox Sports 1, but they don't have a major deal. And they have like some streaming stuff with Fubo TV and stuff like that. But the TV deal, I think, is where MLS really needs to go if they want to get on the same level as NBA and NFL. Because what that'll do is, number one, you'll get happenstantial viewing. People will turn on a college basketball game, and then it'll go off, oh, what's next? Major League Soccer. Oh, okay, I'll check it out, see what it's about. Mm-hmm. And then number two is that in TV, you don't have to compete with the Premier League, right? If you're going streaming on the internet, that's worldwide. You have to compete with all the other worldwide leagues. But TV time, you can focus on American audiences. So
I would agree. I think it's kind of a mixture of both of them, but it also comes from the culture of it, Like coming from Mexico, I think soccer is just like adored the same way that football is here. I think on average right now, like the NFL games get like 16.9 million viewers, and MLS gets like 384,000. So the reason for that is also like money, like you said, people aren't investing. It's not a big money maker as it's seen by the big television, but I think it's also just like getting people to understand it, because how are you going to watch something you don't really care about, So like you said, switching it into like a format that American people can love, in a more like show style, like getting people excited the same way that football is. But I also think that the U.S. is growing in the sense that, lots of people are coming. We're a melting pot. That's kind of our thing, right? So it has increased 50% since last year in viewership, and I really think that that's where it's going. So I think that the investment is worth making, to get people excited about it.
Sure. One question I have for you three is, the U.S. men's team missed the last World Cup. If they qualify for this upcoming World Cup, do you think that will add value to MLS viewership in the United States?
Definitely.
In my opinion, no. Because I think the players that are the stars of this US men's national team, the players I've already mentioned, for example, Christian Pulisic, who's become a bit of a poster boy after the man in the mirror incident. And I think all these players are playing in Europe's top leagues. They're not playing in the MLS. So I think it shows the good work that can be done with the US academies. I mean, a lot of players are coming out of the FC Dallas Academy now, but if they're not playing in the MLS, then how can you say that the MLS is a top league?
I would say it lays a foundation for it. I would disagree a little bit. I think that, yes, maybe it's not the exact players playing in the league. However, it's giving people the education that they need to understand soccer, maybe get excited. I think anytime that you connect someone with their country, they get like that national like feeling when they're like, yes, that's my country. It gets people excited, it gets them curious. And I think that if they performed well, I think if they get there, then people might start looking into other ways to watch the sport.
I think something that's interesting though is how well the women's team has done in the past, and how that hasn't connected really with American popular sport culture. I mean, it has its fans, right? But you know, there aren't any like household names on the women's national team. So I'm not sure if a men's national team doing better in the World Cup would transfer over to that maybe more. But judging by the past with how well the women's team has done, I would say no.
I think it's a journey, which is really funny because in Mexico we do know household names for soccer. I think her name's Megan Rapinoe. I don't want to
Megan
mess up.
Rapinoe, Alex Morgan.
Yeah. And they're very popular soccer for us, but not so much within the country. So I think that, yeah, it always kind of starts with one step and then kind of grows together. As if it gets more like viewership and more people kind of being aware of it, then I think it'll snowball.
I think that is true. I think you do need the household names, but I always think the MLS is going to be held back by its format. I mean, you look at the timings of the league, you're a month removed either side from baseball season, which when you're competing with America's pastime, you're not going to really get viewers. But I do agree that the format does add some excitement. I mean, we've seen it with the playoffs just last night, the possibility for upsets, with New York FC beating New England Revolution, who had the best record in the MLS history, yet they lose 5-3 on penalties. But I think they also need relegation. I think it needs to be added because you're giving teams an excuse to perform badly in a season, and they can sacrifice a season to get a higher draft pick. Whereas, where's the jeopardy? Where's the consequences? We're punishing bad players, not bad teams.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to have to wrap you guys up for this segment.
Man,
this is A-State Sports Take. I'm the host, Gavin Grubbs. Thank you for watching. This is A-State Sports Take. I'm the host, Gavin Grubbs. This time, I hope to see a heated debate. This is a topic that has been discussed for at least the past 10 years, and no argument has been civil on it. The GOAT of the National Basketball Association, the NBA. Who is it? I'm going to throw it over to you. Whoever wants to start, go ahead.
GOAT of National Basketball Association. So in my opinion, there's no true GOAT. There's generational GOATs. No one can completely be number one because of different eras, different times, different players did different things better than others. So I'm going to go 80s Magic, 90s Michael, 2000s Kobe, 2010s LeBron. Simple as that. There's no true GOAT in my opinion.
So speaking for I do agree with you, but speaking from the WNBA aspect, as of right now, you have plenty of GOATs. You have Sue Bird, you have Diana Taurasi, but I'm going to get into a little bit about Sue Bird. She, right now, is really the GOAT. She plays for Seattle Storm. It's not about her scoring with her. It's about her assists. She has 3,000 assists. She is 41 years of age, which carries a lot especially for women. She was drafted in 2002. So these are just things that she just really stood out differently, which is, in my opinion, which is why I feel like she is a GOAT of this generation. Also, I like Diana Taurasi too, so I have to give it to her too. So it's just really hard to really say who really is, really just the GOAT right now, especially for the WNBA.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to. I mean, I guess you can say it's kind of hard to say who's the GOAT and who, but I'm not really too familiar with the women's side, but I'd probably go with possibly Maya Moore. Her trophy case is her case has pretty much proved it. She played for the Lynx. It was in 2011. She was drafted first overall. She was named also Rookie of the Year. So I'm not. I guess for the NBA, I'd probably go Michael Jordan, just what he's accomplished over the years, and just when I watched his flu game back in the day, he averaged he got the 38 points.
It was somewhere close to there.
Yeah.
On the WNBA side, I'm taking her, doing Sue Bird and Diana Taurasi. Those are the two greatest all-time assist leader, league scorer, I'm gonna have to go with them too. Sue Bird's still playing even in today's game. She's had 3 generations that she's played with, and she's still been this good over this many years. So I'm gonna have to take her for the GOAT in WNBA.
And I also have to agree with you with Maya Moore. Even though she's not playing right now, she has been out for a couple years. She played for Connecticut, but in her college days. But also, even the presence that she brought, even though she's been out for a couple years, but you still know who Maya Moore is. At the end of the day, you will never forget who she is because of the aspects that she brought to the WNBA and the talent that she brought. And yeah, that's pretty much as far as for her. That's pretty much all that needs to be said for her. For men's, I would have to go with Kobe. I would go with Kobe and Michael Jordan. The reason why I say Kobe is because I just feel like Kobe, his mentality. Now you have to realize all these players that they're going through stuff, but you have to realize the mentality. Like I guess he inspires people with just his presence when he was alive. He inspired people with just everything that he done, and his career speaks for it all, really. And I'm not saying that I don't agree that Michael Jordan is good at all. That's just hard to really say. Like you said, it is different generations for each, like different players for each generation. So it just really all really depends.
Since we're going on generations, since we got all the way from 90s to the 10s, who do y'all think would be the 2020s greatest player?
Oh, LeBron James.
Yeah, definitely James.
I'm going with LeBron. Yeah, because people always say, "Oh, LeBron, he this, LeBron that," or they always hate on the best players. If you really think about it, like you're gonna get the most hate when you are at the highest. So I just feel like he is the GOAT as of right now in this generation.
That's the worst.
In my opinion.
I feel like if his career gets cut a little bit shorter, Curry might be able to kind of take this generation, but Ron's still got the 10s locked down.
Yeah, Curry, he is doing his thing right now, so I feel like, but they play so differently, so it just really just depends of how you look at everything. But Curry, I feel like he could really.
The 3 ball is the name of the game now.
Yeah,
3 ball is the name. Like you said, generations is different. Like Michael and them, they go into the rack, they try to take it to the hole. Kind of started a little different with Kobe. He could go everywhere with it. 2010s, Brian had to adapt with it as well. Now everybody's shooting the 3 ball, even centers and power forwards.
Another question I have, which I'm sure you will all have different answers, is what would you describe as the opposite of the GOAT? Would that be the biggest bust, or just somebody who didn't live up to hype that was coming in? And who do you say is the opposite of the GOAT in your opinion?
The biggest bust of all time?
Yeah, biggest busts of all time.
Biggest bust?
I would say Zion.
Yes.
You was Zion a bust?
But let me tell you why though. Okay, but listen though, I'm not saying that he can't, but look at him now. He came from Duke, and everybody was like, "Oh, he's gonna be LeBron. He's gonna be the next LeBron." This and third, but at the same time, he has not showed me anything yet since he's been. I know he's been hurt and things like that, but he hasn't showed me anything. And you look at the pictures on Twitter and stuff like that, all the way he didn't game, it carries a lot.
I mean, I understand the boy's gotten big, but you telling me from him? Look at Marquise Fultz.
What about
Look at that.
Okay.
Please tell me. Look at that. Marquise Fultz. He was one of the greatest college basketball players coming through in his class. Got drafted #1 overall, and then all of a sudden the boy just can't shoot a jump shot anymore.
What about Hashim Thabit? Remember him?
I have no idea who that is.
He was a top draft pick coming out of UConn, and he went to the Grizzlies, and he probably lasted probably I think 1 or 2 seasons in the NBA, and he was highly talented coming out of high school.
See, there's plenty of busts.
Yeah, there's a lot of busts.
I mean,
you don't hear about
it's
him
just different things. I mean, you still hear about Zion. You still hear about how he still will develop his game and stuff like that in the league. I wish that takes time because in every level, high school to college to the league, it takes time to develop your game for each transformation that you go through. But at the same time, it's just all the hype that he had with him, I haven't seen nothing yet. So until he shows me something, how can I say that he's really like that? Because you got Kobe. He came straight out of high school, didn't go to college, and came in the league dominating. You got LeBron, did not go to college, came straight out of high school, came in dominating. You got all these different great players that you claim that this man can be, but he hasn't shown me anything. So until I see facts, I can't say.
Zion was in the running for Rookie of the Year. What do you mean? It was him and John Morant. Them two were it was them two for Rookie of the Year. Zion, he came into the league. He was bullying people. Did you not see the inbounds play where he literally stripped dude 1-2, yammed at the rim, and just absolutely took it and made it look like he was a baby? You not see that?
I understand that completely. But what year is this? This is 2021. What year did he come into the league? 2018. That was the first year that he got in the league. That was the 2018-2019 season. 2021, 2020. I don't think I see him anywhere. So I'm saying that he can't do good. I'm not saying that as of right now he ain't showing me.
I think for sure I think the most important thing he's lacking is probably a jump shot, in my opinion, because I think he's more like a driver.
All right, I'm going to have to wrap it up for you guys. We are out of time here on A-State Sports Take. I'm the host, Gavin Grubbs. I want to thank everyone for tuning in, and also tune in next time.